Episode 5 of Lovecraft Country was titled Strange Case. After making a devil's bargain with William, Ruby steps into the charmed shoes of a white woman, but her transformation only fortifies her resentment of racial divide. A betrayal by Montrose unleashes Atticus' pent-up rage, leaving Leti deeply disturbed and sending Montrose into the charming arms of his secret lover. Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with my weekly recap, review, breakdown on the latest episode of HBO's Lovecraft Country, Episode 5, Strange Case. And after watching this episode, it's a three-way tie right now for my favorite episode, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in this spoiler discussion. Before we dive into it, as you can see on the screen now, make sure you're following me on all my other social media accounts. That way you can stay up to date with what's going on over here at Movie Files. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Definitely subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss any of my other Lovecraft Country content, other TV show reviews, movie reviews, and all the fun things we do on this channel. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Helps out the channel, but I also really appreciate it. And in the comments below, let me know where this episode ranks for you all in regards to your top 5. Let me know what you thought about the episode, your pros, your cons, your theories, your predictions. I love reading you guys' comments because they're so rich, filled with detail, filled with some great theories. So let's have some discussions in the comments below. So before we even dive into the review, HBO only gave the first 5 episodes to the press and all that different stuff. So I have no other episodes available to me to watch in advance and pre-record and all that stuff. So I want to know from you guys. I'm going to give 3 different options. Option A being Sunday nights after the episode premieres, I'll do a review, edit the review, and put it up either that night or the following morning. So that's option A. Option B for episodes 6 through 10 would be the night that the episode premieres, so maybe 15 minutes before the episode goes live at 7:45 p.m. Central Time, my time. We'll go live on my channel, do like a pre-game, pre-show, talk about our theories and predictions, and then we'll watch the episode together at 8 p.m. Light commentary about the episode, reading you guys' chat, having some fun times, and then after the episode premieres, we'll have like a 15-20 minute discussion breaking down the episode. Or option C would be the next day, which is Monday, 5 p.m., 6 p.m. Central Time, we'll do a watch-along / breakdown of the episode. So again, 3 options. Let me know what you guys would prefer to do moving forward for episodes 6 through 10. Option A, just your standard review right after the episode that night on the YouTube channel. You guys can interact in the comments, which you guys have done a beautiful job at, or releasing the review the next morning. Option B being pre-game, 15 minutes before the episode begins, doing a watch-along, live watch-along with you all, talking about the episode, and then breaking it down 15-20 minutes after the episode premieres. Or option C being the following Monday, the next day, we'll rewatch the episode, we'll have a watch-along, we'll do some commentary, we'll break it down, we'll have just a great discussion. So let me know, out of those 3 options, for episodes 6 through 10, what option would you guys like to embark on for the rest of this show? Let me know in the comments. So, Strange Case, like I said, it's either between episode 1, 3, hell, I might even throw 4 in the mix, or 5, so it's a 4-way tie. But I think episode 5 might be my favorite for the simple fact that if episode 1 was the road trip monster episode, episode 2 being the magical mystical episode, episode 3 being the haunted house episode with the ghost, episode 4 being the adventurous Indiana Jones episode, this was the body transformation, the body transfer horror episode. Very reminiscent of The Fly, very reminiscent of American Werewolf in London. The transformations in this episode, I don't know if there's a category for best visual effects for a miniseries TV show, but this episode 1, I mean, there were some incredible visual effects, episodes 1 through 4, but this one took the cake for me because, again, it reminded me so much of American Werewolf in London in The Fly. The transformations were impeccable. They were incredible, hands down. They take the award. They take the cake. It was incredible. But also the performances. Wunmi Mushaku and Jamie Newman, were incredible in this episode. Ruby and Hilary Dale, Miss Davenport, incredible. But Wunmi Mushaku, man, I don't know which performance I enjoy more, Leti in episode 3 or Wunmi Mushaku as Ruby in episode 5. Incredible acting, and we'll get to Wunmi Mushaku a little bit later. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, I apologize, but Ruby was just incredible. So let's get into this breakdown, this recap. So it opens up with the Dale character. If you guys remember, the why the woman looks familiar. This was the same lady that was in episode 2, whose name was Dale, who had the dogs on the, when they were in Arkham. That is her. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, I thought this woman was going to play maybe a bigger part in the season, but no, Leti kills her, or I assume she killed her when she hit her with the gun and she fell on her head. But she makes a comeback. So we see that, it begins with the episode. She's shocked. She doesn't know who body she's in. She thinks she's dreaming. She says to herself, wake up, Ruby. When those words came out of her mouth, I immediately said, for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and it's not my theory. I saw it in the comments of my episode 2 review when someone said, hey, Elliot, do you think it's possible that Christina and William are the same person? And ever since I read that comment, it's always been in the back of my head. They're never in the same scenes. Why is it that, Atticus can pull a gun on Christina and her bodyguard is nowhere to be found? Why is she in these positions where she needs William, but William isn't anywhere to be found, and vice versa? So I'm just thinking to myself, they have to be the one and the same person, especially last week's episode. It made it very apparently clear, and we obviously get that answer in this episode. But once she said that, I'm like, yep, that's the case. That's the situation. They're using some type of potions or magic to change their appearances, and we'll talk about that here in a bit. But we see, the Dale character, before she's given a new name and a new identity, we see her going through the streets of Chicago, confused as all hell. She runs into a little black boy. The cops see that. They push the black boy on the ground, saying, did you abuse her? Did you take advantage of her? And, the Dale character at that point in her appearance says, no, he was trying to help me out, and whatever the case may be. And the cops, let him go, and then they take her and say, your husband's been looking for you, which husband, William, has been looking for you. And she says, no, he's not my husband. And we see her starting to have these kind of ripple effects, these kind of effects going on in the back of the car. And I'm just thinking to myself, the transformation, this is going to be so awesome, which it was. But we see her starting to change forms, and we see the body transformation slowly take place in the foreground as there's a newscaster talking about the locust metamorphosis, and the locust changing its form and devours everything in its path. And we see William stabbing Ruby, cutting her out of the body. I'm just thinking to myself, this is going to be one of those episodes, which it definitely was. So we catch up with Montrose, which the two things in this episode for me was the reveal of Christina and William finally, and also the Montrose stuff. We talked about it last week. Can we trust him? What is his true sexuality? Is he into men? Is it just something that he maybe did once or, a couple times? But we really get a full-fledged Montrose, and I thought it was so beautifully handled and told in this episode, and we'll talk about that when we get there. But we catch up with Montrose. We see that he tells Tick and Leti that I believe her name was Wahima, I might be pronouncing that wrong, is gone, as we see the blood on his fingers from last week's of him slitting her throat and killing her. I don't know what he did with Yahimi. I don't know where the body is. Is it down the elevator? Is it in the water in Boston? I don't know what he did with the body. Let me know what you guys think that theory may be. It might never come up again, but I'm thinking to myself, what did he do with that body? But let me know your thoughts in the comments. But we see that, blood's on his finger, and Tick just loses it. He beats the hell out of Montrose, to the point that Letty's like, help, get someone in here, help him. He's going to kill him, which he was damn near about to kill his dad, who we'll talk about later. But I thought that was a very interesting scene, to say the least. We go back to Ruby as she's now in her regular form, talking to William, and we get kind of the little bit of explanation of this transformation. William explains that the metamorphosis idea was kind of laughed at with people that he brought up the idea to. Ruby not knowing that he's referring to the lodge, but we're assuming that he's referring to the people at the lodge, or maybe his father, Samuel, or Christina's father, or Samuel, that he brought this idea to him, but didn't, just kind of laughed it off. But it wasn't until Professor Epstein, who we know is the scientist, the mad scientist, doing all these experimental things on black people and putting babies' heads on grown men body and all the stuff that we got from the Haunted House episode, that he agreed to help. And he wanted nothing more but to understand the universe. So he created these magical doorways, which once they said magical doorways, my mind just started flickering. Okay, the tunnels. This explains why we go down the elevator and we're in Chicago, but now we're in Boston and we're going to these different areas. And someone had mentioned in the comments last week, which I want to talk about a little bit later for the music choices, is this show have some type of time travel element to it? Obviously, there are some magical doorways that lead you into different parts of the world. So very interesting stuff there, but very excited to learn more about these magical doorways. And does one of the doorways lead into Hannah, where Hannah hid the pages. Let me know what you guys think about this new kind of revelation about these magical doorways, and ties into the connection of that Boston, the tunnels and everything. So we also learned about the metamorphosis potion that it wears off after time, which we'll talk about here in a bit. We see William offers to Ruby to become someone else and to feel more like a human, aka during these times to have a black woman be more like a white woman, be more accepted, be a human being, be treated like a human being, which is a big theme in this episode, which I loved. We get another great spoken poem, which I wasn't able to find who that poem or who was speaking those words, but it was really beautifully said. It was speaking on the black girl experience, as Ruby / Dale / Hillary is out getting free ice cream, which seems to be like an all white, whites only ice cream parlor. She's, eating ice cream. It's for free. We see that she's reading a newspaper, just being peaceful. She's being able to live a white woman's privilege in the 50s. Just no worries in the world, which is a very key thing about Ruby later in this episode, about kind of maybe embracing more who she is as a black woman. But as we move forward, we see Leti tells Tick that she did take pictures of the missing pages. So even though Montrose did destroy the pages, she took pictures of them. So Leti, again, smart, best character, so intelligent. She has the pictures. She's just waiting for them to get developed. Tick talks about how he's been holding that ass whooping that he gave his dad for so many years. It's been pent up inside of him ever since his dad used to lay his hands on him, which I thought kind of revealed something that we speculated, that he was probably abused, and Montrose hit his son when he was younger. I think we all kind of knew that, especially that scene in episode 2 where they came back and they had the little confrontation at the table and all that stuff. But another thing that was really interesting with this scene was that violence comes from the war, and that kind of made me, and that scares Leti, and that made me think about the violence maybe shown to Jamie Shung's character, who we've seen in the background. We've seen her on the telephone, we've seen her attack Tick when he had his dream sequence, but we see that the character Jayon, I believe was her name, that may explain why he's haunted by her, and we see that he's calling her. So is she alive? Is she dead? Did he think he killed her? More of that to come later in this breakdown. But Tick and Leti, the moment, round 2, to say the least, of Tick and Leti, hooking up. And let's just say that it seems like they were both more prepared to handle the situation. Tick seemed to be a little bit more than 1 or 2 strokes. Didn't seem to be a minute man in that situation. And it seems like Leti, who was a virgin a couple weeks ago, who knows, maybe they've had sex more times than when we saw them in the bathroom. But they both seem to be a little bit more comfortable, embracing each other in a sexual manner, to say the least. But either way we move forward, we see William claims that he felt magic when he first saw Ruby, but also kind of lets the cat out of the bag that it was more or less for a favor that he's going to use later on for her, as we know a little bit later that Christina's going to be needing her assistance as well. Ruby sees the benefits of having these magical powers. Ruby decides to take this potion and to make a trip down to Marshall Fields. And all season long, well, not all season long, I would say more so last week, the music choices, the modern hip-hop, modern R&B songs, some of it works. The more gospel, contemporary stuff works. Some of the hip hop stuff don't really fit. It's not that I don't like those songs. It's just that I don't feel like they fit the scene that they're in. But for whatever reason, Cardi B's song comes on and we see that, they're playing Cardi B's Money as Ruby walks into the Marshall Field, and I just loved it. I'm not a big Cardi B fan per se, but I think she got some bangers, and I think Money and also the song that we got later on is a pretty big banger. But we see she walks in there with her new magical appearance, her new skin per se. We see that Miss Davenport, Hillary Davenport was her name. She talks to the manager of the store and asks about working there, and he offers her the job, and he asks her, how do you feel about working with colors? As we know that the woman, the black woman that we saw that Ruby was kind of jealous of getting that position. We also see yet again the transformation taking its course, and yet again another incredible transformation scene. But in that scene, she left her perfume potion to that manager. So I wonder, did he keep that, and will he be seeking revenge for Ruby? We'll talk about that a little bit later. But we see again the transformation effects in this episode. Whatever award goes to special effects and Emmys, give it to this show, because the transformations in this episode were literally like blockbuster budget type of level. I've never seen anything like this since the movies I mentioned earlier, The Fly and the American Werewolf in London. Incredible transformation effects. We get yet another big reveal in this episode. We see Montrose visit Sammy, the owner of the bar, which we get the big reveal. He is indeed gay. We see that they, have an intimate scene. They have sex with each other over the Frank Ocean song, Bad Religion. Again, the stuff that we get with Montrose, guys, I'm going to talk about him a little bit later, but I thought it was just really well done because we get to see why Michael K. Williams is such a fantastic actor. The stuff in this episode, just emotionally, he finally knows who he is, and we'll talk about that later. But that was the big reveal that he is indeed gay. So we go back to Hillary/Ruby as she starts a new job, but I'm thinking to myself, I'm still thinking that manager has that potion. He still has that perfume. He may have given it back to her. I might be looking into it more, but I think he's going to use that potion for later episodes. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. But she starts her new job. She approaches, I believe her name was Tamra. Correct me if I'm wrong. The black woman that works at the store that took Ruby's job or took the position that Ruby wanted, and almost let this slips that they've met before. She kind of catches herself. We learn that the Tamra, again, I think it's Tamra, she only has a 7th grade education. She didn't get her, or her financial education from some of the classes that they hold in Chicago. So Ruby's just thinking to herself like, oh, well, she's not as educated as I thought she was. And I like the relationship and the conversations those two had in this episode. But it was kind of funny that, Hillary says to Tamra, your hands are looking a little ashy. You need to get some lotion on those hands. I just thought it was funny. I thought, again, the Ruby and the Jamie Newton stuff or the Hillary stuff, I thought those two actresses were fantastic in this episode and really just gave a hell of a performance. We see Hillary interacting with other white employees. They're dancing around, talking about this, that, and the third. And they ask that, how do you feel about working with Tamra? And do you think she'll let us go to the South Side? Which we'll talk about that scene a little bit later. But again, we're seeing Ruby embracing her whiteness, her new skin, but at the same time, she knows that it's not true to who she is. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But William picks up Hillary/Ruby, and we finally ask for that favor. As Ruby says, I knew the devil. I know I made a deal with the devil. It's finally time for me to see what I have to do to, make up for these powers you gave me. But there's a party that William wants Ruby to go to, and he's going to meet, or Ruby's going to meet Christina there and provide her with information a little bit later. As we see the scene plays out, she thought she's going to get this new badass outfit, maybe show her new skin off to these white people, but no, she has to be a server at this lodge gathering. We kind of hear these rumblings. Let me know if I might have missed this whole scene. Was kind of weird for me, the way this kind of played out. I think this seems more of a setup more than anything, but we hear that Captain Lancaster is taking over the social club. I believe it's just his particular club. I don't know if he's the new lodge head leader, the new Samuel of this bunch. I think he's just the lodge member leader of this situation. I may be wrong, but Christina meets Ruby, and we get another big reveal about William. She tells him that William was supposed to be the lodge leader of this particular lodge that Captain Lancaster has, and he attempted to kill William by shooting him in the back and pushing him in the river, leaving him for dead. We all know that William is dead, and it seems like you have to be dead in order for your body to be used as this new skin for this potion, this metamorphosis idea. So I'm thinking in my head, I wonder, is anyone going to use some dead bodies that we've seen in this episode, in previous episodes, like Samuel, maybe Uncle George, or some people going to use their skins and use their bodies to pretend to be someone else? Let me know if that's something you guys were thinking when they said that William died. Because again, Dale, we know that Dale character died. I assume she died in episode 2 when Leti hit her head and she hit her head on concrete. And we know that William, well, at least I think William's dead. And you have to be dead in order for this metamorphosis to take place. So again, Samuel coming back maybe as another imposter. Uncle George, who knows? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But again, this whole scene played out very weird to me. I had to rewatch it quite a few times. We see that there's a person in the closet, which I forgot to mention last week's episode. I don't know who that person is. I don't know what. We'll get to that scene a little bit. Before we even get there, Tick has a dream. I don't know if that was foreshadowing. We see Tick sees Hannah walking in the fires, and he catches on fire. I don't know if that's foreshadowing for later things to come. Tick deciphers the ring symbol in the language of Adam, which spelled out ASF, which meant Samuel, his grandfather on his mother's side. Tick tells Leti that Montrose killed Yahimi, and Tick believes that he did it to protect his family. So that kind of answers the question I posed last week. Can we trust Montrose? Is he doing this to protect Tick, to protect his family? I think the show is telling us, yes, that we can trust him. He just thought it would be best to kill Yahimi because he didn't want his son to be in harm's way. I could be wrong, but I think the show is telling us that we can trust Montrose. Let me know your thoughts on that. So going back to that scene I was kind of alluding to, we see Ruby gets this object from Christina. She puts the object in Captain Lannister's office. He comes in there with his guys. We see this guy cut up, seems to be dead. It feels like they said that the guy is dead. His throat's slit. His skin's all kind of deformed or kind of sewed up. I don't know who that guy is. Let me know if we've seen him before. Let me know what you guys' theories are. But the whole scene was just weird because Lancaster's chest seemed to be black. I don't know if he's posing as a black man at some point in time. He's using literally someone else's skin. I don't know if I missed that. Again, that whole scene, I'm just like, what? Wait, who, what, when, where? I rewinded a couple times. I didn't fully understand that scene. Let me know what you guys took of that scene. Is he wearing a black person's skin? What was he talking about the guy in the closet, about stealing someone's money, about Christina? I was very confused about that whole scene. Like I said, I read you guys' comments. You fill me in on a lot of things, so let me know what I missed in that particular scene. But I assume it's a setup scene for things to play on later in the season. But Ruby/Hillary takes Tamra, gives her some advice. We see that she says you can't just be an average black person. You have to exceed expectations, which, again, I thought the commentary between those two was great in this episode. They plan a trip to the south side where we see Sammy and Montrose and his crew are going there as well, or at least going to another party in the south side, a drag club, and we'll talk about that in a little bit later. As we move forward, we see Ruby isn't really feeling the party. She really isn't feeling herself. As we all know, she embraced the white privilege that she had in the episode, but she knows that's not who she is as a person. She's been given this opportunity to be a strong black woman, and she has to embrace that, right? Because you can only put on that facade for so long before you start to realize that you're not being who you are, genuinely, literally speaking, figuratively speaking, outside as well as inside. So we see that she goes in the back. And again, I can't stress enough, give this show the awards that needs to be awarded to them for the visual effects of the transformation when Ruby's skin is coming off in the alley. Literally, I haven't seen anything so good since American Werewolf in London and The Fly. Those films have been out for more than 30 plus years, and I haven't seen anything that crisp, that incredible since those times. I might be exaggerating. There might be some other great, Underworld or some vampire werewolf or some other TV show, True Blood, might have some better visual effects, but those are the two things that come to mind. I thought the transformations, especially that scene in the alley, was incredible. We see that the manager, who is apparently a nice guy, doesn't hit on the women at work, is hitting on Tamra in the alley, says, I want to smell, being super inappropriate and taking advantage of her. But Tamra hits him in the mouth and escapes, and he calls her, without getting this video demonetized, calls her inappropriate name, to say the least. And we see that Ruby sees that, which is key for a scene later on. As we move forward, Lonely World plays by Marcus Sumley, as we see for the first time in this entire season, at least I can think of. Montrose is smiling. Montrose seems to be in the place he feels fit in. He feels happy. He feels genuine. He feels like he could be himself, which I love that scene by Michael K. Williams, being in the drag club, being embraced by people that can show who they are as a people. They don't have to hide their identities as identifying as gay. They don't have to hide their identities as being who they are as people. So I just love that time, love that scene, and just beautiful. And we see him crying. We see that he kisses Sammy in public. This is my favorite episode. I think this is my favorite episode. Not only the Montrose stuff that I'm talking about now, but the Ruby stuff, the transformation stuff, the jokes, the excitement in this episode. It was just a really because at the same time, we're getting all this stuff, but we're still getting the stuff from Tick and Leti. They're still figuring things out. So I thought this episode was just really well paced. The music really fit for me. And I'm going to give you all my overall thoughts in a minute, but I just thought that scene was beautiful. And this is my favorite episode. I think episode 5 is my favorite. So the moment of truth, Ruby tells Christina, You're not William. Still covered in this awesome bloody effects. We get this interesting exchange between those two. Christina saying, black women want to be white women want to be black women, but it's not that. It's more or less of having these powers and having these magical powers to be free, which I thought was a really interesting dialogue between those two. Hillary, the next day, quits her job and blames it on being attracted to the manager. This is probably my favorite scene, to say the least. Proceeds to lead him on, mentions wanting to fire Tamra and on the other night because of what Tamra did the night before. And we get some more Cardi B. This time we get Bodak Yellow plays, and she puts that that black stiletto right up his ass. I love that scene. That would have been such a great scene to see like in a movie theater in a crowd full of people just cheering, because I was just so geeked. I thought the music, even though it didn't make sense, which the theory that a lot of people have been mentioned that there is a time travel element with this show and that there's parallel timelines, and that may explain why we're getting modern music mixed in with the older music. Not my theory, a theory that I've read in the comments, which again, I love you guys' comments. So I really love the soundtrack in this particular episode. It just felt like it fit the scenes. Like all the other stuff really didn't fit for me in episode 4 with the music choices, but the Cardi B, for whatever reason, just fit perfectly within those scenes. And she lets him know that, I want to let you know before I go that it was that blank, 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 N-word, B-word that did this to him. And I still think that he has that potion, guys. I still think he has that potion. He may want to seek revenge, and I thought she should have just killed him, but Ruby's not a killer. But we'll see if he'll come back up in later episodes, that manager. But we get a brief kind of backstory with Tick, which I've been kind of waiting for. He talks about Gia ending their relationship and not knowing if he really loved her. Tick tells Leti, which I thought was a beautiful moment, that they have something special. He may love her. I think he does, guys. I thought that was a really good, cute moment. We didn't get that much from them, but they did just enough to keep us, that Tick and Leti are still on the trail. They're still figuring things out. But I thought that was a really cute moment. We finally, after weeks and weeks of speculation, we finally get the moment, guys. Christina comes out as William, and yet another beautiful transformation. I love Ruby says, "You've been William this whole effing time." I thought that was great. And then as we kind of wrap up, Tick figures out the Adam language and calls Gia and says, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, he said, "Where are you? What are you?" And then she hung up. I don't know what exactly he said to her, but then the words we see on the page is "die." I don't know what that means. I don't know if Gia is alive. I don't know if he said, "Where are you? What are you? What did you say?" I was confused about that scene, but it really just opens up the door to more exciting things to come. So again, this episode was fantastic through and through. Wunmi Mushaku, Journey Smollett, they're tied neck to neck. What Journey Smollett did as Leti in episode 3 was fantastic, but Wunmi, what she did in this episode as Ruby, as well as Jamie Newton, who played the white outer version of Ruby, but it wasn't offensive. She wasn't playing like a black woman. I love how Jamie played the character. So all three of those women did fantastic. But Wunmi and Journey, I don't know who had the better performance in their episodes, but I just thought it was overall great. But we still have some questions. Hippolyta and Diana, where are they up to? I assume we're going to get more of them next week with that Ori object. Is there potential time travel involved in the show, guys? Let me know your thoughts there. Montrose relationship with Sammy. Will he be telling his son anytime soon? Gia, what's the deal with her and Tick? Hannah, maybe she has the missing pages. Maybe she has her own book of her own, just in general. What's going on with Captain Lancaster and that black chest and everything that was going on in the office scene, and who's that guy in the closet? And will the manager seek revenge for Ruby? Because I think he has that potion. So episode 5, I said it earlier, this is my favorite episode because I thought the transformation, the visual effects, the stuff with Ruby, the conversation between Ruby and Tamitha, the stuff between Hillary and Tamitha, the stuff between Christina and Ruby, and then the stuff with Leti and Tick hooking up round 2, but having something special and still figuring out decoding those informations with Adam. The Captain Lancaster stuff. Will the dead bodies be risen? Will we see Samuel's body be used again? Will we see Uncle George's body be used again with this magical metamorphosis potion? So really great episode. Like I said up top, guys, let me know, since I don't have the other episodes in advance, do you want me to do regular reviews Sunday night or Monday morning? Do a pre-game live show 15 minutes before the episode starts. We'll do a live watch along together, breaking down the episode and then recapping that for like 15-20 minutes after episode. Or do you want to see me the following day do a live watch along with you all? We'll break it down, just have a fun time. So let me know which one of those options you guys would want to do from episode 6 through 10. As always, like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss any of my new videos. Thank you all for watching this review, this recap, this breakdown. Hope you all are staying safe, and we'll see you on the next video.